Hi everyone, this is Sada. I'm in this industry for more than two and a half decades. My career started with BI and growing with BI, growing with analytics with AI. That's what my career is all about. I know only analytics other than AI analytics. Probably my knowledge is very limited. And mostly in BFSI sector, telco, etc. I started my career as a developer, as a data scientist, and I was actually growing on this. Okay. Given that experience, I'm here to talk about sovereign AI. Someone was asking, can we use AI in BFSI? And rightly pointed out, John was saying, it is, we recommend AI, but use it securely, reduce the risk. I'm here to talk about that. How we really make AI more sovereign, because when I say sovereign, let me define this. You really make sure that it is localized to the country, localized to the bank, localized to your organization, and it's supposed to be ethical. Few topics which I'll be covering as part of this, mainly about the terminologies, sovereign, ethical, privacy, public policies, and why sovereignty is so important in the industry, and how do we really reduce the risk, and few use cases where you can actually use AI in the BFSI sector. And if you need further details, I'll be there in the booth to discuss about the use cases. I'm actually open to have the discussion on use cases. Given this, this is from the research paper. By 2034, our usage is going to be more than $180 billion in AI space. So governance and AI is highly mandated for this. Within Asia Pacific, one of the IDC reports says, out of this, 70% is going to be pure AI, 30% is going to be Gen AI. The reason why we need both AI and Gen AI is we can't live only with Gen AI, because Gen AI is more towards text generations, unstructured data. But we come from the world of structured data. All our banks, core banking information, all are structured. We really need to do the combination of both structured and unstructured and give up with. It's not new in this world. In fact, I would say credit scoring, risk scoring in the industry, we are doing it for decades. It's not like we are approving the loans without scoring about anyone. But what we did is, we scored with the data that is there within the bank about the person, not externally. Of course, we do some external scoring through some organizations, and we actually improve it. But how do we really improve this? How many of you remember, whenever you call your bank, the call center, they say, we are recording your calls purely for training purposes. Nowadays, it's not for training purposes, but it's actually training the AI model also. We use those audio files, and then try to understand what is the sentiment the client has. How do we really improve their experience? How do we really resolve that problem? That's the world we are actually moving towards. With that one, IDC has actually pointed out few top 10 points, but I'm not going to read out all. One is there is an increase in digital CIOs. There is a second one is AI proportion in the digital spend is drastically increasing, and companies are actually evaluating what is the ROI when I spend for digital. Given that, this is the AI governance that's going on right now. So by 2035, if you notice, BFSI is at the topmost with respect to AI, right? Okay, so let's see that we are actually going to go ahead with AI in BFSI space. We welcome AI for sure, right? But when we welcome AI, what is going to happen? Are we going to have a controlled AI which is risk-free, or are we going to use it in an uncontrolled manner? What will happen if you really use with an uncontrolled manner of the AI? There are three key things which I'm actually highlighting. It is not limited to these three alone. There are a few more risks that is actually involved, but these are the top three that is actually involved. One, geopolitical dependencies. You know what I'm actually talking about. I'm not going to really give more details about it. So there is a geopolitical dependencies when you are actually hosting it on cloud infrastructure. As a result, bank wants it. Most of the banks, whomever I'm talking to right now, most of the banks prefer to have that sensitive data on-premise, inside their private cloud, inside their infrastructure, right? That is one thing. The other one is ethical violations. Sorry, there is no gender-biased questions here, but still I'm actually saying there are, when you are not really monitoring the ethicality of the AI, there is a possibility for you to give a biased results with respect to, say, for example, loan approvals, right? Whether is there going to be like more loans are approved for male versus female, right? This is something which we have to really take care of. The other most important thing is regulatory compliance. If we are not following any of those things, we will be at risk. So what we have to ensure that every country, in fact, like BSP with respect to this country, Philippines, right? They are actually coming up with regulations. And GDPR, which is globally by the this thing. And say for example, Singapore, that is MAS, which is actually coming up with the AI risk. So let's define the word sovereign AI, because that's my topic, right? Two important things with respect to infrastructure, model, data, model development, model training, and model deployment, right? One, with respect to infrastructure and model, I, as a BFSI organization, should have that full control of my infra and should have the full control of the model which I'm actually using. The other one is when I actually deploy the model, I like to train my model or restrict my model very specific to my BFSI organization, deploy it and monitor it locally within the country. If not within the bank, at least within the country. That's what we're actually really looking for. So what are the key pillars? If I talk about sovereign AI, I would say 4 key things. In fact, SaaS API is the most important, but let me talk about first 3 points. That is on compute sovereignty. That is your infrastructure, the GPUs and the TPUs which you're actually using, you have to have your control over it. It should be private to you. The other one is model sovereignty. Nowadays, models are AI models are actually, Gen AI models are actually available open source. It's actually available on the cloud. But I don't want to use my data to train the models that is actually available on the cloud. That means I don't want to send my data to cloud and then train the model and use the model for my purpose. Because in a way, I'm actually exposing my client's data, my customer specific data, etc. Right? So your model sovereignty becomes highly important. The other one is data sovereignty. As I said, you should be able to hold the data within your organization. That is the most important. Or at least follow some cross-border controls like GDPR or your local country's compliance regulatory requirements. SaaS API, models are actually available. You can expose the models as REST APIs, you can expose the models as fast APIs or gRPC kind of an APIs. Whatever method you are actually exposing, it should be dependent, if you are actually exposing as it is actually dependent on the foreign-based SaaS, make it local. And once you have actually made a secure sovereign AI, it has to be ethical, right? Because as I said earlier, right, it should not be biased. It should not be biased for the race, it should not be biased for the gender, or it should not be biased for your income band. It should not be biased. The model should be very perfect. Unbiased results should come when it comes to credit scoring or the risk scoring or loan approvals, anything in the BFSI industry when you're actually taking a decision. So 2 things when it comes to ethical, it should be fair, transparent, accountable. Accountable is auditable. When you say I'm actually predicting something, you tell me those parameters which is actually influencing your prediction. Explain those parameters. Why it is actually influencing, right? The other ones, examples are loan approvals and credit scores. So practically, if you want to really implement ethical AI, 5 important things. One, the fairness. That is, when you actually build your models, ensure that it is not giving any discriminatory signals. That is, in fact, last night I was developing a small model to show a demo today, but I was not able to complete it because my test data was not really working properly. Point is, I don't want the approvals of the loans only for a particular race or only for a particular income bands or only for a particular gender. It should not have any discriminatory things, so it should be fair and simple, and the fairness is highly important. Other one is Okay, I have AI models. I'm actually using open source models. Download your OpenAI models, LLM models, Mistral models, whatever you are actually having. Even the regression models or ANOVA models, which is actually available in Hugging Face also. You can download and start using it. But when you are actually using any of those models, are you able to explain why the model is behaving like this? If the model says this scoring is dependent on 10 different parameters, explain it why those 10 different parameters are having higher weightage compared to the remaining 200 different parameters. That is the model explainability which you really need with respect to the FSI industry. Auditable, when you are actually running a model, ensure that logs are actually monitored continuously so that the model drift can happen anytime. Model drift can happen in two cases. One, the nature of the data got changed naturally because data is going in the bank, so the data gets changed. So as a result, the model performance drifts. That is one reason. Another reason why model drifts is someone is hacking it. That means there is a data, it is called intrusion of unwanted data that is going in, and based on that, you will actually, the model can actually drift. Maybe it was predicting 90%, suddenly it is predicting only 60%. So that sudden change, it means the model is actually vulnerable. So we have to monitor that models continuously to ensure that it is not drifting because of any external factors. Then transparency, which we all know, it should be fully transparent with respect to the feature engineering. Let me explain what is feature engineering. You have set of parameters from core banking, from loan originating systems, or from treasury systems. You are actually using all those data. But the base data gets transformed into a set of parameters. That transformation specific to my model. Maybe let's assume that I'm actually using random forest. The model for the random forest, I really need to transform my data into a specific format. As part of the transformation, I may apply some logic, whatever, right? In that case, I should be able to give you an end-to-end lineage with respect to this transformation. So when you transform from the core banking data to my model, the steps that is actually involved by transferring the data, you should be able to really connect it and then give an explanation for this. That's what this transparency means. There are lots of tools, commercial tools are actually available. If you are open for open source tools are also available. And there are lots of packages like Shape or Lime, etc. You can actually use that and then you can actually go ahead and then implement this. So, with sovereignty and ethical AI, three key things: power, privacy, and policy. This gets repeated a number of times. What does it mean, power? I should have the power with respect to the model which I'm actually running, with respect to the risk models, or with respect to the insights about the customers. I should have that control on it. The other one is when you're actually having a privacy, it is with respect to your, say for example, in Singapore you call it as NRIC, in US you call it as social security number, any of those histories, right? You should be able to have that localized recommendations with respect to privacy and ensure the data is actually privately controlled. And the last one is the policy, the regulatory requirements. Every country has their own regulatory requirements, not only for the data, even for the AI. There are AI Act that is actually coming up with, so it has to be followed properly with respect to policies also. Okay, I'm actually talking about everything, but how do I really implement this? That's my next question which will come in the mind. So I'm actually going to cover why this is so important and how I'm going to implement this. And with and without, right? Let's assume that without having ethicality and without having sovereignty, what would be the impact? And with ethicality and with sovereignty, what is the impact? When we are actually talking about, I've listed only 4 factors here. Okay, I've listed only 4 factors. And one is on regulatory requirements, data privacy requirements, model trustworthiness, and resilience. If you are not using those, let me highlight only on the without, you have to pay lots of legal penalties. You will end up in paying lots of foreign infrastructure dependencies. You will not be able to explain the model, why the model is behaving like this. So better to have these 2 important things when you are actually using sovereign AI with respect to sovereignty and with ethical. How do I implement? I've actually listed few tools here. but this is the RAG method. So 95% of AI models, which you're actually downloading from Hugging Face, OpenAI, any of those things, you still need to implement the RAG. Once you have implemented that, then you can actually start using the AI model within your bank's data, within your organization's data. That's how you actually implement it. You just compare with your ChatGPT. What happens is all the data gets transformed into embeddings. I don't know how many of you heard embedding. Embedding is nothing but the sequence of numbers. The unstructured data gets transferred into embedding and loaded into the vector database. Once you have actually loaded, even ChatGPT does the same concept. When you send a query, even the query, the sentence what you're actually giving gets converted into embedding and it gets stored. And that will get compared with the data which is there in the database. In this case, I'm actually talking about ADB's Postgres. And that loaded data, you can actually compare the data, create the chunks, give it to LLM models and get the response back. How do we really make use of this? Virtual chatbots, conversational AI, any of those CRM systems which you want to integrate to, agentic AI if you want to implement those things. But key point which you have to take care of is, one, you need a vector database. You need a model which is locally runnable. NVIDIA provides such models, LLM comes with some models, and ensure that there is an RBAC, that is role-based access security, so that everyone will not access all the data, only the authorized people can actually access the data. Few tools which is available in the market, both commercially available as well as on open source. If you want to have your AI with ethical policies. One, I'll just fidelity through our commercials. Even IBM comes with a model. The last 5, in fact, the Sharp, Line, Coderice, LLM, Cod, and Prompt Layer, you can actually implement using Python, right? It's all open source. Let me go through only one thing which is with respect to Guardrails AI. You can actually implement using the YAML schema, what you want to monitor, how you want to do it, and what should be your reactions. In case if there is an ethical violation, how do you really react to it? For example, someone is asking a question, even ChatGPT does that. If you are using some words which you are not supposed to use, right? Dictionary is supposed to, it's an unethical words, right? It will actually say this is actually not possible, you can't really use such words in the chat. You can actually implement the same thing even within your virtual chatbot. What you have to do is you have to implement using Guardrails or LLM Guard. LLM Guard is another AI model which is actually available in Hugging Face. You can download it and then you can actually start using it. So, with respect to sovereign AI and security, NVIDIA comes with NVIDIA inference models. That means it actually gives in a container form. You can actually download all the models, right? You don't have to go back to the cloud and then get those, even including OpenAI models. You can actually go and then use those NVIDIA models. And when you want to have, say for example, Kubernetes-based model executions, so that it's actually a very controlled environment, then you can start using Kaiser. This is another way of getting it done. Then EDB Postgres with AI and pgvector really provides the role-based access to your vector tables. That actually gives you the integration to NVIDIA and Kaiser. That's another option you can actually look for. IBM Trusted AI is another interface you should actually implement. And if you are not looking for any of these things, Hugging Face also comes with the text generation interface. You can actually use that to implement sovereign AI. I'm actually rushing because already got one bill. From some guidance to the BFSI organization, it's good to use AI. We can't avoid AI. We can't avoid Gen AI. But when you actually start using it, please keep these points in mind. If possible, have a review board, review council internally within the organization, right? You can actually have your ethics, AI ethics review board internally. Another one is classify the models what you're actually using, risk and publicly available. And based on that classification, run it in different zones. The other one is always make sure that all your models are actually linked to your audit logs and monitor your audit logs continuously. Because I was talking about drifting, model drifting, right? If you monitor that model logs continuously, you know why it is drifting. The other one is vendor lock-in, try to avoid vendor lock-in, and then come up with an AI framework which is specific to your organization and start using it. These are few NVIDIA models. You can actually go to their website and then read through this. All these are actually available as slim models. You can actually download as part of their GPU, and it is actually available. In fact, ADB also provides this as a package one for AI Factory. Few AI use cases. I'm not going to deep dive with every use case that is there in AI. I've actually categorized the AI use cases into 6 buckets. One, when you are talking about search and understanding, that's a case like something like log analysis, document search, operation logs, operation guides, etc. Or if you're looking for virtual assistants, chatbots, or if you're looking for predictive analytics is there for decades, but improved predictive analytics where you can actually have your fraud detection. Fraud detection could be something related to credit card fraud, it could be a network fraud, it could be AML, any of those things. And if you want to really do a computer vision based, something like a facial recognition, tampered passports, tampered ID cards, right? And those things you can actually use it using AI. And as I said, call center audio files, transcribe it, load it into your vector database, and start analyzing their call center information. That is the speech and audio intelligence. And if you have lots of documents, upload all those documents and do a text generation, text summarization. You don't have to read through the 200 pages of documents. You don't have to really do it. Load this 200 pages of document into the vector database and start querying that. That will actually give you highlights of information. Legal contracts. For example, if you're actually having lots of corporate customers, you can actually go ahead and use the legal contracts. Other one is risk monitoring and credit risk. I love to talk about credit risk, but I'm not going to talk about it. And the other one is on recommendation systems for marketing team. If they want to really create a personalized content, you don't have to sit in a room and then redo this marketing content repeatedly. Have your personalized content with respect to MBA and NBO or upsell and cross-sell or lifetime value for the clients. And the other one is business intelligence. The traditional business intelligence is gone. You can actually empower it with AI. Natural language, query-based kind things, you can actually use it in BI with AI integration. Last but not the least, it is the advertisement creations, video creations for your websites, contents. That's another place where you can actually use GenAI. With that, I have few things on EDB side. That is, EDB is Postgres. It actually supports Sovereign AI. It supports something called low-code or a no-code GenAI builder as part of our platform. If you want to have more details, please look at our booth. And these are few references like banking, financial, tech, it's not limited to this, it's there for other industries also. And last one, there will be a quiz connected at our booth. Take the quiz, and if you win it, you'll be getting a cool fan. That fan is really good. I use it. I don't think I have time for questions, right? No. Okay, if you have any questions, you can see me offline over there. Thanks for your time.